Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, and coinciding with the 20th anniversary of the character, I'm devoting an entire month to Cassandra Cain. Not much of a stretch, given how often I've brought her up over the course of over 100 episodes. So, let's begin by bra, 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 bra. What? Is this just another excuse to rag on DC for changing her origin? No. Be honest, brah. Granted, that is a temptation, but I think these stories speak for themselves. And I might as well just play it by ear anyway. That's impossible. Comics are inanimate objects, and inanimate objects can't talk, brah. Anyway, let's begin by taking issue with Cassandra Cain's first appearance in the story Mark of Cain, and see just how she first flying kicked her way into our hearts. Part 1 is Batman number 567, written by Kelly Puckett with art by Damian Scott, John Floyd, and Greg Wright. The cover sees Batgirl, at this time Helena Bertinelli, dropping down with a lightning bolt in the background. Also note the side banner and the title covered in barbed wire. I've heard of protecting your brand, but this is ridiculous! We open to Batman finding several dead men, some of whom are strung up against a brick wall, and his own emblem defaced, meaning these guys may have been on Bruce's side. He's later burying them and taking a moment of silent prayer. He's observed by Batgirl, who seems too timid to approach, and appears to walk away until hearing someone say, "I trusted you," only to turn around to find no one. Gotham may have descended into an earthquake-ravaged dystopia cut off from the rest of the world, but some habits are still hard to break, even for Batman. Barbara Gordon is in her clock tower, surprised by her best courier who she's been waiting on, Cass, with an apple for her teacher. Either she somehow learned this old-timey trope despite being on her own for so long and not speaking, or it's an adorable coincidence with extra meaning since, no man's land, scarcity of food, and all that. Barb coaches Cassandra to say the word stop, and she makes a little progress before Commissioner Jim Gordon walks in with a couple of officers needing to speak to his daughter. I think Cassandra's expressions on this page are definitely worth noting. You see her honest focus to learn to speak and the somber expression of seeing a father and daughter that are so close. And I'm not crying, you're crying! She walks out of the building seeing David Cain and hiding before he spots her. She carefully follows him to a nearby complex, where he ascends several floors to a window and readies his rifle. He takes aim at Gordon as he's on his way out, only for Cassie to dash into his line of sight. Look how Gordon's expression hasn't changed. It just denotes how quick this girl is moving. Cain is taken aback by her presence, and then furthermore by officers opening fire on him. Just look how he takes that bullet, like he's more concerned with having to sew up his suit than the wound itself. He seems to take out an officer that tried sneaking up on him, and eludes his backup as he escapes. Meanwhile, Batman is dealing with the one responsible for the deaths at the beginning of the issue. Two-Face is gagged and tied to his bed with an excessive amount of rope. Come on, resources are scarce, man. He's vowed to avenge the fallen, but with no judge or jury for typical court proceedings, that raises the question of just how to fulfill that promise. He decides to take a page from Harvey's book and flip his trademark coin. We don't see the outcome, though, and he just tosses it back, warning his former friend not to push him too far, or they'll both lose. I'll start by stabbing you with my extra pointy shoulders. Jim's trying to get Cass to name the gunman, but all she offers is a drawing he doesn't understand. Note how no one is condescending to her by offering candy. Barb takes a look, and instead of putting it on the refrigerator, recognizes it. It's the Mark of Cain! Roll credit... Oh, sorry, wrong show. Anyway, given that David Cain isn't above shooting girls, apparently, Jimbo wonders why his protector didn't get shot herself. You know him, don't you? Since Cass can't tell him he forgot the question marks there, she indicates that her connection to Cain is the same as Barbara's to Jim. You're his daughter?
And she's out way past curfew.
Jim's determined to bring in Cain for killing 2 of his officers, and doesn't want the teenaged human shield risking her life. When it becomes apparent they're going to try reining her in, Cassie is quick to take Gordon's keys and lock them inside the room.
If anyone asks, it wasn't a teenage girl that locked us in here. It was Penguin and a gang of gun-toting demon ninjas. Are we clear?
It just so happens David is on the other side of that door. He tries shooing Cass away, even shooting around her, but no dice. Instead, she takes his gun and clocks him, knocking out a tooth and some blood. Her hand covered in red triggers a flashback, her younger self being the only figure in color as a man at a desk grasps his throat and falls over, dead. In the present, she cries out, tearfully pleading for her dad to stop. His waterworks get started at the revelation that Cass can speak. As Gordon busts down the door, Cassie recalls how instead of a hug for her proud pappy, she punched him and ran way back when. Before he can pick up his weapon and finish off the commissioner, she tackles him out the window.
New idea for reorganizing DC's power structure.
Detective Comics number 734, with the same creative team, features a cover with Batman and Cain in the middle of a brawl, both busted and bloody, while a ruined Gotham and an image of Batgirl is behind them, colored in reds and oranges to denote a more fiery atmosphere. The smoke helps too.
Helena is Batgirl at this point, but I have to believe this was some foreshadowing right here. Cass's 2 father figures at odds with one another as Batgirl watches from the background. That cannot be a coincidence, especially when Helena's Batgirl only shows up in the first part and at no other point in this particular 2-parter.
We open to Bats crouched on a balcony, muttering about how a bullet to the head would be an appropriate fix to a certain problem. No, we haven't slipped into Batman v Superman. Note the hand of an unconscious goon down there. He's merely reading the lips of Two-Face and the Tallyman, talking about how they've hired someone to take out Gordon. Through bat binoculars, the Dark Knight sees just who they're talking about, rappelling to a window. This must have taken place moments before this, which closed the previous chapter. As they plummet downward, Cain smiles and compliments the girl on her attack. As they're falling. For all he knows, they're about to die after seeing each other for the first time in years, and he can only express pride in his child.
I dare you to compare.
I knew it, brah!
Shut up!
They're saved by a timely bat rope, which really digs into Bruce's hands, but seeing the blood still on her own hands, a sullen-looking Cassandra frees herself from her dad's grip, with Batman gliding down after. I guess she lost consciousness because she wakes up in a cemetery as All Pointy Ears asks her about her connection to Cain. After finding she doesn't speak any language, her hand signals and a flashback to his own tutelage under David gives the realization that the only language she knows is violence.
Violence is a language? Hey, I am bilingual. Better freshen up my resume.
Being hired by Two-Face officially makes Cain Batman's problem, who's certain he can handle the assassin even though Cass thinks his attempts would be suicide. They spar a bit, resulting in a move all too familiar to the teenager, but Bats declares that he'll stop Cain, or anyone for that matter. His hands are still bloody, some of it even got left on Cassie's neck, and he walks away, with Cassandra looking at the drawings used to aid in their discourse. Gordon is walking through the streets surrounded by cops as Cain has him in his sights yet again, but the memory of his daughter dropping from his arms gives him pause. At least enough pause for him to realize the Caped Crusaders on the scene. We leave the beginning of that fight and jump to Two-Face and the Tallyman, setting up some nooses, only for Cassandra to interrupt his coin flipping, dressed in dark civvies and a makeshift mask. She keeps Dent, and by extension his goons, at bay with the previously seen lethal throat strike, then traces her index finger down the center of his face. Says,
I'm not entirely sure why. She already has his attention, so maybe she's displaying her own curiosity at Harvey's disfigurement? Or, more likely, she's confirming this is the guy called Two-Face. It's also possible she's signaling some kind of threat that's going to go over both halves of his head.
As their fisticuffs continue, Cain claims to know that Batman won't kill him, so he can't stop him. But just before they launch at each other again, David has this look on his face. Maybe he realizes his bluff is being called, maybe he's exhausted, maybe he's thinking about his kid, but without a flashback panel, that's pure speculation. Their punches are stopped by satchels of money. 1 coins, 1 cash, both thrown by Cassandra. "You're alive!"
Whoa, hold up. How did he know who she was behind that mask? She changed her hairstyle and everything.
Between the moolah and Cassie's rejection, Cain seems to be done trying to kill police officers, and decides to leave. Batman seems to like the added touch that one of the coins was Dent's scarred token, which has left its owner in, shall we say, distress. The comic ends later, as Barbara hands Cassandra an old photo from her days as Batgirl, as thanks for saving her father's life. Batman then tells Oracle to call them, but that has nothing to do with Cassie, so we're not going to bother with that.
It's been a while since I've reread anything from the No Man's Land era, but this was such a joy to revisit.
With Cassandra in particular, the artists do great work showcasing her expressions, giving her feelings without dialogue from any characters to explain it. We see earnest struggle, somber longing, a moment that was kind of a Pyrrhic victory when she had to strike her own father. We see pain and what looks like genuine affection between the two. Imagine that! It begins a mystery about Cass that the reader gets clued into more than the other characters. And they haven't actually even mentioned her name yet in this story. Sometimes looking back at these older stories with a more analytical eye can leave one open to disappointment, but this is not the case. I see a lot more of the subtlety and depth throughout, even if it could be open to different interpretations. For example, Cassandra halting her dad after throwing the money seems to me that she's telling him that he can either choose her or the life of a paid killer, but not both. Is there another way to read this scene? Absolutely, but this one seems more striking and logical to me.
It's incredible the kind of stories you can tell when you put the correct focus on the right character and some actual heart behind the writing. Not a dismemberment in sight.
Come on, brah!
I said shut up! Next week, we take a look at Cassandra after she's already taken up a classic mantle and started making it her own. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.